contamination. Tests will be performed on all mail received at this site to determine its source. All employees at this site are being swabbed and tested. Mailroom employees at the White House will also be swabbed and tested, and environmental sampling throughout the White House has all shown negative. Be happy to answer any questions. Sorry, Mark?
Specific letter or package that has tested?
It's too soon to say. They are going to be going through that mail to determine what the source may be. It was found, yeah, let me fill you in. It was found on what's called a slitter, which is a mechanical device that opens the mail. It was not found on any mail itself. Determination of investigation will now begin to go through the mail to determine what the source may be, but it was a small concentration that was found on the slitter.
So you're saying that environmental testing has been done within the White House?
Yeah, David, suffice it to say that prior to September 11th and then as well as after September 11th, the White House has always had extraordinary precautions in place. They've even been enhanced after September 11th. So there has been a regular program here of environmental sampling at the White House even prior to this discovery, and all the environmental sampling to date has shown negative.
So there's no
and we will, as just indicated, if anything is positive, we will of course report it. There is nothing to report. It all is negative.
Any precautionary step at the White House, any part of the complex, are they taking antibiotics? Is anybody taking any precautionary step at all?
The answer to that remains the same as what I indicated earlier, that we do not discuss that for the White House staff as a matter of routine. In the case of this discovery at the remote site, we will share that information because it applies to the specific case.
How was this discovered?
David?
Antibiotics at the remote site?
I indicated, yeah, the testing and swabbing has occurred, and antibiotics will be available to anybody there.
Was this discovered? You said something about mailroom employees here at the White House?
That's correct.
Are they being swabbed and given?
They'll be swabbed and tested, and on the antibiotics, that'll be a determination that's made based on what the results are. I think I'll have to check with the medical staff to see if antibiotics will be provided earlier than that.
In the mailroom in the West Wing or in the building across the street, OEOP?
It's the mailroom handlers, mailroom employees, and they are located, I do not believe they are in the West Wing itself. Ron?
How far away is the off-site facility, and how can you be sure that...
The off-site facility is at a military facility located miles away from the White House itself.
And how can you be sure that no one else in the White House has come in contact with this letter and has been exposed to anthrax besides the mailroom employees?
Suffice to say, as a result of many of the security precautions that have been put in place since September 11th, we have high confidence that that is not the case. But the tests will be done on the basis of where the doctors and the security personnel determine the most logical places to test, and that's why, for example, the mailroom employees will be tested.
Have you tested in the West Wing?
Not as a result of this, Ron. Kelly? There are a variety of security procedures that were already in place, and I'm not going to go beyond that and discuss them. Kelly?
Tested. Was this the first test that was done that came positive, or has it been tested periodically, and that this is the first time you discovered a positive sample at this facility?
As I said, many procedures had been in place prior to September 11th. They were enhanced since September 11th. This is a result of some of the enhanced testing procedures since September 11th.
Since September 11th, so there have been tests underway, enhanced tests, and this is the first time you have a positive.
That's what I just said. Correct. That's correct.
When
Bill?
exactly was it discovered?
The positive culture was found late this morning and the Secret Service was informed. Senior White House staff was informed at about 12:30, 12:45 this afternoon, and then I was provided that information. I was in the middle of this briefing at that time. I was provided that information approximately 2 o'clock.
And the routine test was done today or yesterday? Was it a routine test?
The tests were done as a result of the enhanced procedures put in place since September 11th, and the positive culture was found today, was determined to be positive today.
So was this an ongoing test that is done frequently on this piece of equipment?
There have been a series of enhanced security procedures that have been in place. This is the first test that has come back positive. But other tests were done prior to that. I do not know. I only know about the test that came back positive, the results of which we got this morning. Jim?
The sample was found on a slitter, meaning one assumes that it opened some envelope. Have you found the piece of mail that left that sample on the slitter? Have you been able to determine if anyone...
No, as I indicated, the investigation is beginning, and they're going to try to find the source of it.
But obviously your fear is that an envelope was opened mechanically and then passed on to someone here in the White House.
Or it may still be at the facility. As I said, there have been a series of security precautions that have been put in place here at the White House, which give us high confidence that there is not an issue here at the White House itself.
How many White House employees received mail that might have been opened by that slip?
As I indicated, there have been a series of security precautions put in place that gives us high confidence.
Who is at risk? Which federal employees might be at risk from the mail that contained the anthrax opened by that slitter?
On the advice of the professionals who are involved in this, which are the health professionals and security professionals, the people who work at the remote facility will all be swabbed and tested, and the mailroom employees here at the White House will be swabbed and tested.
Are you telling us in effect that the reason you know that no one else needs to be swabbed is the mail hasn't gotten beyond the mailroom since September 11th, that it's not getting to its senior employees?
I'm not going to go into all the details about the security procedures that are in place, Ron, but again, the confidence is high about the White House as a result of the enhanced security procedures that are put in place. Again, I'm not going to get into all the details of security. Kelly?
Facilities, though, where does this mail go besides the White House? Are there other federal agencies that get this mail? Any other federal employees that get this mail besides here at the White House?
The only other entity that I know that gets this mail is one federal agency. They've been notified about it, and they will also receive the same type of treatment. The Secret Service.
How does this affect operations in the White House in the day-to-day? Are there any shutdowns, any operations that aren't going to be going forward?
No, it has not changed anything at the White House. The environmental sampling that had been in place continues here at the White House, and as I indicated, all results of the environmental sampling, which is, if you think about it, that's one of the best precautions you can take, is to go in and take a look at various areas around the White House to determine if there is anything positive or negative involved in the physical space of the White House, and as I said, all tests have come back negative.
Say that there's a high level of confidence that the White House is okay, but technically, is there a chance that a piece of this mail is in the White House? Just to clarify.
I can only report to you what's been passed on to me and faithfully reported to you on the basis of what the security people have told me. That's their analysis. John?
You said that you didn't know the results of any previous testing on this piece of equipment, but do you know when that piece of equipment was last tested?
Well, I know that the test result was determined. It was determined late this morning and shared with the White House at that time.
But do you know when that piece of equipment showed its last negative test? I mean, is it done on an hourly basis?
No, I said I was only informed about the positive tests. I do not know about all the tests that came back negative in each instance.
So you do not know when that piece of equipment. You don't know when that piece of equipment was last tested.
That's correct. That's what I said. That's correct. Okay, great.
When was the president informed? Who told him, and what was his reaction?
The president was informed some time ago, some hours ago. I talked to him about it probably about 45 minutes ago. He had already been informed. And the president also has confidence in the security procedures that are in place at the White House. The president expressed his concern for the people who work at the facility. But the president also said that this is another example of how this is a two-front war. That there are people who would seek to do evil to this country, that there are people who mean us harm, and they have mailed letters, obviously, to high-impact places, the news media, to Majority Leader Daschle, perhaps in this case to the White House, and the president understands that these are enemies that we face who are seeking to create the most disruption in our society, and he is determined not to let them succeed. We'll take three more. Dick?
Do you have confidence, or is the White House confident that this letter or document, whatever this piece of mail is, can be tracked either through routing codes or some other internal mechanism that mail that's open and forwarded to the White House can be?
Dick, that's a question the investigators will have to answer once they determine what the source was. The first step is to determine the source, and then they'll be able to gather more information about that source. April?
This is a huge canvas with a lot of people. It's already been said. You said that the slitter has detected some, and it's not. You haven't let us know that some of this mail might have gotten out. But has anyone here started swabbing or made requests to have the federal government or the federal doctors here take a look at them and start swabbing? And have you been swabbed, and anybody over here been swabbed?
Again, anything dealing with the existing procedures separate and apart from this that are the result of White House security precautions, I'm not going to discuss. So that's the answer to your question. But as a result of this, I did share with you the information about who has been or will be swabbed and tested. April?
It comes to the press, it comes to the West, it comes all over this place. Do you recommend that everyone here as well use common sense, possibly get swabbed?
Again, the White House has high confidence as a result of the security precautions that are in place.
Are you, I want to clarify.
David, this will be the last question.
Are you saying that health officials have been doing environmental tests at the White House protectively since September 11th or around that time?
That's correct.
And so you've been doing that absent any evidence to suggest that there may be anthrax present?
David, as you can imagine, even prior to September 11th, similar things have been done at the White House in terms of testing and precautions and procedures, separate and apart from anything involving anthrax. The White House has always, unfortunately, been a target for terrorists, a target for people who have shot at the building, and that's no surprise to you or to the American people. So prior to September 11th, there was a series of tests that have been in place for the White House as a result of its unique nature. Those tests were enhanced after September 11th.
So therefore, the protocols that you discussed earlier today that would apply to federal facilities like post offices around the country that were being followed, that indicated there was no need to test at the Brentwood facility and so forth, those are not the protocols that were followed here because you needed to be extra careful.
Well, actually, on that point, if you look at the remote delivery site in the same way you do as the substations of DC, the substations are being checked also on their equipment. So that's similar. But as I mentioned, there is no other institution like the White House. There is no other target, unfortunately, like the President. And therefore, the White House has always had a unique and different set of security precautions and continues to have that.
I just ask you, you don't seem to be waving us off this point. Has all outside mail been cut off to the White House? How else could you be so certain?
I've answered the question as best I can.
And did the pre-September 11th tests that you talked about have been in place for a long time because this place is a target? Did they include tests for anthrax?
I'm not going to get into all the degrees of the testing that have been done. Again, that's part of the security regimen at the White House, and we do not indicate with that level of specificity about what has been tested or what has not been tested. Thank you, everybody.
Ari Fleischer keeping his promise to keep the media informed. This is a story that it seems like almost a development every other hour. The latest is that a testing at a off-site White House mail facility, that's at a military site several miles from the White House, showed the presence of anthrax, what he called a small concentration of anthrax on a splitter machine, a machine used to open mail that ultimately is destined for the White House. No indications anyone has been infected. They will be testing employees who work at that off-site facility, also testing employees who work at the mailroom in the White House itself. Ari Fleischer saying high confidence. The security procedures in place since the 11th and enhanced after the 11th have limited the possibility of anthrax appearing in the White House itself. Nonetheless, the employees who handle mail in the White House will be tested, and those at the off-site facility. NBC correspondent Dan Abrams, who will be leading through our next hour, is also a member of the NBC News Terrorism Task Force. Dan, in watching this on the same day that Ari Fleischer noted that there may be a link to international terrorism here. Are the pieces beginning to fall into place?
Well, we should be careful to note that Ari Fleischer and the Attorney General John Ashcroft both saying they're looking into that. They're saying it is possible, but at this point they have no definitive link and no definitive answers to the question of whether all of this anthrax is connected to the September 11th attacks. But no question. Every day we are learning and finding out that anthrax is being discovered in different places. This one, though, as a result of a precaution. They wanted to make sure that it wasn't a problem at this particular facility and at facilities related to the White House. This anthrax discovered at that facility. We're joined by Bob Kerr, who is standing outside the White House with the latest. Bob, I assume that this comes as a complete shock to the White House correspondents?
Dan, you took the words out of my mouth there. I was going to say, I didn't know whether to say shocking or stunning. I think I was going to settle on the word unsettling, because how can you be shocked or stunned by anything since September 11th? So I would say it's a rather unsettling situation here, an unsettling development, but you'd have to say that it's not entirely surprising, or not entirely unexpected. What we know is that the anthrax was found on a mechanical device at a remote mail gathering facility. The White House mail doesn't come to the White House. We've known that for some time. For security reasons, it goes somewhere else. We learned today, more than we've learned ever before, that it comes to a site, a military facility site, miles away from here. Apparently, it came to what they call a slitter, which is a mail opening device at that remote site. Tests were done, and late this morning we're told that the test result came back positive. This is the way Ari Fleischer said it to us in a rather surprising, impromptu appearance here in the briefing room just a few minutes ago.
Early this afternoon, a positive anthrax culture was found at the remote mail site that serves the White House. This is a delivery site that is located some miles away from the White House that handles all White House mail. Test results showed it to be positive for a small concentration of anthrax. The facility has been closed for further testing and decontamination. Tests will be performed on all mail received at this site to determine its source. All employees at this site are being swabbed and tested.
That positive culture that Ari Fleischer talked about was found this morning. He said senior staff here at the White House were told early this afternoon. He said he met with the president about 45 minutes ago. The president was well aware of the situation. Fleischer saying the president expressed his concern about any workers attached to the White House mailroom here or the White House remote mail operation at that military facility who may have come in contact with this anthrax. But as we know, Dan, those folks are being examined as we speak, if not having been examined already.
Bob, very quickly, any word on why, I mean, Ari Fleischer addressed this, why the White House employees, all of them, aren't being tested at this point?
No. In fact, he may have addressed that as I was on my way out, so I don't know whether he answered that question. But it is not the case that mail spreads throughout the entire White House. They may well, and this is only speculation, be trying to decide who actually comes into contact with that mail. For example, there are people assigned to do that duty here. But of course, you raise the question, did it go to other people? Even White House staffers, senior officials, that sort of thing, don't know that yet.
I guess we should be thankful that those security precautions are in place at the White House that ensure that the mail does not go directly to the White House, and in fact, that it goes to this facility that is off-site to first deal with the mail before it ever heads in to the White House. Bob Kerr, thanks very much. We appreciate it. I want to stay on this topic, continue talking about this. You know, we've talked about what we can do. I mean, it is now New Jersey, Washington, Florida, New York. This is a spreading problem. Detecting anthrax, a little bit difficult when you're talking about the mail, but it can be killed. So the question is it time for us to take very serious measures to effectively zap the mail? The post office has indicated that they are going to sanitize the mail better in the future. But what exactly are they going to do? Joining me from Boston is Alan Louie, a biochemist and senior manager of applied biotech labs at Arthur D. Little, which is an international technology consulting firm. Thanks very much for joining us, Mr. Louie. You know, we're hearing about another case of anthrax at a mail facility, and everyone in this country is going to be asking the question, what can we do? What can we do?
Well, the issue that we're looking at now is, well, first let me say that it is possible to kill anthrax either in an envelope or once it's been contaminated a facility. As to whether killing that anthrax is going to be practical, that's a whole other question.
What do you mean by that? I mean, you mean it's too expensive, it's too cumbersome? I mean, it seems at this point that we'd be willing to do anything to avoid this problem.
Well, there are a number of solutions, and all of them have their potential drawbacks, especially in the short term. Some of the issues that we'll be looking at, and some of the things that people are thinking about, include irradiation. It's gamma radiation, similar to the kinds of treatments they use on cancer patients. They're also thinking about sterilization or steam sterilization, which is basically like pressure cooking. And then there's a number of chemical methods. All of them have their drawbacks, and the least of which is cost and the fact that it probably would delay mail 2 to 4 days, and so it's no longer, for millions of pieces of mail, it's prohibitively expensive and time-consuming and cumbersome.
And would it also mean then that we could not send any food through the mail at all?
Food may only be part of the issue. You definitely couldn't send, for some of the methods, film, because film would be destroyed by radiation. If you had something that had ink that was, for example, water-soluble, and they tried using steam sterilization, it's as if you soaked the letter in water. And so it would probably be illegible at that point. So there are a number of issues for that are impractical.
All right, so you've sort of told us that you think that a lot of this is somewhat impractical, some of it is cumbersome, some of it is extremely expensive. What do you think is the most realistic answer to the question of what can we do?
There's actually going to be, in the case of high threat situations, probably some solutions that come to bear in the next 3 to 6 months. There's nothing off the shelf right now. For the bulk of America, there probably is not really a significant enough threat to where people are worried about it. Most people will not get a letter with anthrax.
Okay, but let's assume that we take it to the next level. For whatever reason, the government says this is just too serious. The public's reaction is too serious. We need to show them we're going to do something. We're going to do something practical. We're going to do something where we can explain to the public exactly what we're doing. What do you think the answer, the best answer would be if the government came to you for guidance?
I probably don't have a good answer for that right now because I don't think one exists. There are things that are being done right now. If we look at the Postal Service, the way that mail is currently handled, the facilities have the potential for, as we saw in the case of the Brentwood facility in Washington, people were exposed to material and unfortunately they died. And so some of the practices they had, for example, blowing out the machines with air, actually pushed the stuff back up in the air, and at which point more people get exposed and possibly some people have died. By using vacuums instead of air pressure, you probably are reducing that particular threat. On a person-by-person basis, maybe there will be, and actually let me back up, for a person-by-person basis, if you mail the letter within your town, it may never go to one of these big facilities. We have people that work with the Postal Service, and the way mail is handled doesn't all go through a centralized facility, and we're also talking about 680 million pieces of mail every day.
All right, Mr. Louie, thanks very much. We appreciate you joining us. Again, we just want to report to you that some anthrax, a small amount of anthrax, has been found in an off-site facility that deals with all of the White House's mail. This is the facility where all mail sent to the White House goes. It doesn't go directly to the White House. And in a test there, they found small amounts of anthrax. Right now, they are testing all the mailroom employees, although at this point, they do not think it is necessary to test all employees of the White House. We are going to have more on this story in a moment. We're going to take a quick break. Back with more.
The new collection is a triumph, just dripping with vibrant flair. And I love the reinterpretation of the front and back color covers, from sassy to sublime. Custom ringtones strike a retro chord.
Right now, Cingular is giving you twice as much. Buy this hip new Nokia and get another one free. Plus, ask about our unlimited nights and weekend plans. Cingular Wireless, what do you have to say?
How do they see through the stockings?
How do they see through the stockings? They're sheer.
Right.
But you're missing the point of the story. The woman's car is commandeered, stranding her miles from the nearest FedEx location.
She's toast?
No. Directly across the street. Her salvation.
Directly across the street?
Technically, it was kitty corner, but stay with me. Is it a mirage?
I don't know.
Is it a miracle?
Yes.
No. It's one of thousands of FedEx Express drop boxes strategically located at post office locations coast to coast.
Keeping the engines of commerce
well lubed. Precisely.
Mr. Smith, your wife called to remind you to send your son's tuition check.
Yeah, this is the roofing company. The estimate to replace your roof is $12,000.
Bob, this is your stockbroker. You really need to call me right away.
Need fast cash for some big bills? Apply for a second mortgage with a no closing cost option from ditech.com. Use the cash for any purpose and end up with one low monthly payment. Apply online or call now, 1-800-71-FIXED.
Hi, I'm David Orrick. How'd you like to get this $100 cordless iron absolutely free? Call this number now and try my amazingly light, incredibly powerful 8-pound Orrick XL. On your carpets, tiles, and even wood floors, this $100 cordless iron is yours whether you keep the Orrick XL or not. there's nothing to buy. So call 1-800-471-1453. That's 1-800-471-1453. Nothing gets by on Oric.
Master Tire and Accessories, your Cooper Tire dealer at 905 West Columbia Street, has added a second Evansville location. Zeller's Master Tire on the Lloyd Expressway at Red Bank Road. Zeller's Master Tire also carries a full line of Cooper tires, and they are a full-service gas station just like the old days. They'll pump your gas, clean your windshield, check tire pressure, and they have a certified mechanic on duty for any of your car service needs. Make Zeller's Master Tire your tire and service headquarters, located on the Lloyd Expressway at Red Bank Road.
I'm seeing things differently now. I want to protect what I have, not just grow it. I need a new way to manage my money. I have all the help I need.
We want to bring you up to date on this latest development. The White House just announcing that anthrax spores have been found on a letter opening machine at an off-site facility that deals with, that handles all of the White House's mail. They say that as part of a routine screening procedure, they found these anthrax spores on this particular machine. They are now testing all of the employees who work at the facility, but so far they are saying there is no need to test all White House employees. Because again, remember, this facility, not at the White House. It is the one, though, that handles all of the White House's mail. Now, we should also point out that this particular facility, the mail brought to that site is processed through the Brentwood Postal Facility outside of Washington, D.C. Remember, that, of course, is the site where a number of people have come down with inhaled anthrax. At this point, 4 confirmed cases, 2 have died, 2 others now reported to be in stable condition. We will, of course, continue to follow this story. Also, we should tell you that in New Jersey, we're expecting to get a briefing on the status of a woman who is now believed to have inhaled anthrax, who worked at a postal facility in Trenton, New Jersey, the Hamilton County postal facility there. Again, we are expecting that press conference any moment. We're expecting to get an update on that woman's condition, but she is believed to have inhaled anthrax. That would make her the 5th postal worker to come down with the far more serious form of anthrax. We want to bring you up to date on the other developments in this case. Earlier today, officials confirmed that 2 postal workers in Washington did die from inhaling anthrax. Right now, all D.C. postal workers are getting preventative treatment for possible exposure to anthrax. For the very latest, let's check in with NBC's Monica Novotny, who is live at D.C. General Hospital. Hi, Monica.
Good afternoon, Dan. First off, I want to get you up to date on the health investigation regarding these postal workers as it stands this afternoon. At this point, officials say they have 20 cases under investigation. Only 4 of those cases are confirmed inhalation anthrax. 2, of course, of those postal workers have died. 2 of them, however, remain in serious condition. I just spoke with hospital officials moments ago. That is what they tell me. They said they've been in serious condition throughout the afternoon. They remain in that condition at this point. There is another group of D.C. postal workers, 4 of them, who are being watched very closely at this point. They have presented symptoms, and doctors say those symptoms are very suspicious. Another group of D.C. postal workers, 12 in this group, also have presented symptoms, but doctors feel that these cases are far less suspicious. However, of course, they continue to monitor them very carefully. So in total, 20 cases currently under investigation. Meanwhile, here at D.C. General, hundreds of local postal workers from the 36 postal facilities here in the District of Columbia showed up here today. They thought they were going to be tested. However, that is not the case. Instead, they were immediately treated, prophylactic treatment with antibiotics. They were given 10 days of Cipro to begin taking immediately. However, many of the postal workers who come out of the facility this afternoon say they're disappointed. They were hoping to be tested.
I'm just concerned about my health. Now, they say we should take this 10-day supply of this Cipro. you know, to prevent us from getting sick. And afterwards, we would be contacted. And I'm wondering, getting contacted for what? They didn't even test us to find out whether or not, you know, we have the disease or not.
Kevin told me that his next stop would be to his doctor's office. He said he wants to be tested. He wants confirmation on his state of health. In fact, he said he really doesn't feel comfortable beginning the Cipro dosage until he sees his doctor and is tested. Meanwhile, however, word from D.C.'s Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Ivan Walk, responding to these questions today. He's saying that these tests are no longer necessary.
We do not need to do further testing, but we need to treat, and we need to treat quickly. We again are asking for immediately people to be brought or to come to DC General to receive the medication they need so we can help keep them safe and protect the public health.
Dr. Walks also explained that the testing that was originally done with those Brentwood postal workers was done so that they could establish a perimeter and determine who was at risk. At this point, they have decided that all of those workers at the 36 local facilities are now at risk based on that perimeter testing. So that is why they are being treated here today. But again, many unanswered questions for some of these postal workers, as they say they would like a clean bill of health. They would like peace of mind. They would like to be tested. Finally, Dan, we want to let you know that Mayor Anthony Williams, the mayor of Washington, D.C., is expected here at D.C. General this afternoon. He was in that Brentwood facility, is concerned about exposure, and he will be here to be tested later this afternoon. Dan?
Monica, what about the status of the facility itself? I mean, what do we know about the testing that's been done on, as opposed to the individuals, the actual facility?
In the Brentwood facility, we know that they have done environmental testing, and many of the swabs that have come back from that have proven positive. And what they're pointing to specifically is what they're calling the back area, the employee work area of that Brentwood facility. And those are the people they were most concerned about, particularly yesterday when we saw almost 3,000 postal workers coming through. They were most concerned about the ones who work in that back area. Dan?
Thanks very much. Our coverage of Homefront security continues. Up next, Congress is still walking on eggshells in Washington. We'll have a live report from the Capitol up next.
Sunday on a special MSNBC National Geographic Explorer. They say they fight for the sake of Allah against the accused enemies of Islam. But how do you battle an extremist who lives to kill and is prepared to die? What Americans need to know about Jihad, Afghanistan's holy war. Sunday at 8 on MSNBC.
After the attack, Americans opened their hearts and their wallets to raise approximately $1 billion. Where's the money? The World Trade Center Charities. Tonight on CNBC Business Center at 6 p.m. Eastern.
One company provides total document solutions for business.
Yes, sir.
One company offers digital copiers that scan, print, fax, and finish.
Yes, sir.
One company makes the most earth-friendly printers and copiers on the planet.
Yes, sir.
One company has a printer drum that lasts 30 times longer.
Yes, sir.
One company. Kyocera Mita.
I love to keep a clean club, but the boys get so rambunctious sometimes. Nice catch! Hence, my new Bissell Pro Heat Protect Beauty. It's the only one that thoroughly cleans and provides Scotch Guard protection all in one beautiful machine. Smoothies! Scotch Guard protection. It's cool.
Now clean and protect with Bissell.
It'll put any neatnik in hog heaven.
Bissell. We mean clean.
It's LensCrafters' best $99 offer ever. Right now, get a complete pair of glasses with DuraLens, our most scratch-resistant plastic lens for only $99. The $99 DuraLens event. This is one you don't want to miss.
29, 30.
Now at Red Lobster, you can get 30 mouth-watering shrimp for just $9.99. Red Lobster, go overboard.
It seems like only yesterday. When I started skating at 8 years old, I never thought I'd experience the thrill of winning a medal. With all the great memories has come another thing I thought I'd never experience, the pain of osteoarthritis.
Vioxx is here, a prescription medicine for osteoarthritis pain. With one little pill a day, Vioxx can provide powerful 24-hour relief. Vioxx specifically targets only the COX-2 enzyme, a key source of arthritis pain. People with allergic reactions such as asthma to aspirin or other arthritis medicines should not take Vioxx. In rare cases, serious stomach problems such as bleeding can occur without warning. Tell your doctor if you have liver or kidney problems. For more information, talk to your doctor about once daily Vioxx for the relief of osteoarthritis pain.
Perhaps my biggest victory is to be able to plan my day around my life instead of my pain.
Ask your doctor if Vioxx is right for you. Vioxx for everyday victories.
Even though you might not know Delphi Automotive Systems, we're probably in your garage right now. You see, chances are we're in your vehicles, having developed the first in-dash car radio and production airbag, not to mention the future innovations that will revolutionize the way you drive. With 36 countries and growing, we're practically everywhere. Even though you may not see us. Delphi Automotive Systems, driving tomorrow's technology.
We want to update you on a story we've been covering for the last half an hour. We have just recently found out from Ari Fleischer, the press secretary for the White House, that anthrax spores have been found at a delivery site, a mail delivery site for the White House. Now, this is an off-site delivery location, meaning that when mail is received at the White House, it initially goes to this military installation. For security purposes, they handle the mail. Then it is sent on to the White House, but this is the first place that mail is received at the White House. And on a letter opening machine, anthrax spores were discovered. More testing is being done. So far, no one has come up with any sort of anthrax-related results. There have been no positive results at all, but certainly causing some nerves. And I want to check in now with Joe Johns, who's at the Capitol, where they've had some of this very same reporting has happened over there. Joe, what's the sense now hearing about the White House?
Well, I've only had an opportunity to talk to one or two members of Congress. There is a sense here from the people I've talked to, of course, of inevitability and surprise, perhaps, sadly, that it took as long as it did before something like this actually were to occur over at the White House. Because when you consider the fact that we did have, in fact, anthrax sent to the Senate Majority Leader and 4 hot spots around the United States Capitol, obviously there was a question as to whether whoever was doing this was also, at one point or another, at least going to attempt something with the White House. Meanwhile, a little bit of news to give you on a couple other subjects. One, Senator Tom Daschle, the Majority Leader, said today that he thinks his offices over on the Senate side, the office buildings there, could be opened in the next couple of days. Of course, that excludes his own personal office, which will probably be quarantined for some time because of the anthrax found there. I talked a little while ago on the House side to Congressman Bob Ney, who is the chairman of the administration committee here. He's not willing to go that far, says testing is still being done to find anthrax spots over here. Eventually, they're going to have to get rid of it. Back to you.
All right, Joe Johns, as always, thanks very much. Our coverage of Homefront security continues. How safe are America's nuclear power plants? We'll talk to Senator Jeff Bingaman about what the government is doing to protect those sensitive sites in a moment.
Tough questions, honest answers. Direct from Washington, Chris Matthews' up-to-the-minute analysis as America strikes back. Weeknights at 7 on MSNBC.
If you had your own movie theater, what kinds of movies would you show?
Use your imagination. I'd show my kinds of stories. Great dramas.
Stories that are true to life.
And don't forget romances and stars.
Bring in Madonna!
Welcome to Lifetime Movie Network with your kind of movies showing 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Lifetime Movie Network. Your movie's on. Taco John's Super Burrito really is super. It starts with a big flour tortilla filled with seasoned beef, freeze-dried beans, cheese, lettuce, sauce, and a whole lot more.
There's a whole lot of Mexican going on at Taco John.
We don't call it super for nothing.
Welcome back to our hour-long look at Homefront security. I'm Dan Abrams on the half hour. A lot of news to bring you up to speed on. Here are the very latest developments. White House Press Secretary Ari Fleischer announced a short time ago that anthrax had been found at a remote mail site that serves the White House. He said the site on a military base miles away from the White House has been shut down and that workers there and in the mailroom at the White House are being tested. Washington, D.C. officials say tests now confirm that 2 city postal workers died of inhalation anthrax. 2 other workers at the city's main postal facility are seriously ill. The facility processed the letter sent to Senator Tom Daschle. Because of all that, workers at 36 post offices are being given antibiotics as a precaution in Washington, D.C. So a lot of developments today. And now, as we just said, this late word from the White House. Let's go right to Bob Kerr standing by there. Hi, Bob.
Hi there, Dan. Well, one bit of reassuring news, at least to some of us at this point at the White House, is that environmental tests here at the White House so far are negative. They don't show any positive anthrax exposure here, at least so far. The White House says that it has high confidence in its security procedures, that things will be all right here. Not only was security strong, tight, if you will, before September 11th, but it was beefed up since. Now, another thing we can report is that a Secret Service person is quoted on the wires as saying that so far no one at that remote military site that receives and processes mail for the White House, no one at that site has yet tested positive in the testing that is already underway. But I must say that about a half an hour ago, a little over a half an hour ago, Ari Fleischer called an impromptu briefing here at the White House for the somewhat unsettling, but in this environment, not unexpected news. Here's what he said.
Early this afternoon, a positive anthrax culture was found at the remote mail